the long run, the first thing is now we only have one condition to worry about, which is price equals marginal cost. Okay? Okay? Price equals marginal cost is what you need to worry about. Okay? And basically, if you are going to, and you're only going to be a situation in the long run where you're only going to be making either zero or positive profits. If you're making negative profits, you'll be gone. Okay. Now, the key difference in the long run is now we can't take the number of firms as given. Now we need to derive the number of firms. And the way we do that is by thinking about entry and exit. Okay? Now, what's going to determine entry and exit? Well, it's quite simple. If in the market as it stands today, with some number of firms, there's profit to be made, new firms will enter. If in the market as it stands today with some number of firms, there's losses being made, some firms will leave. Remember, no one stays in making losses anymore. And that continues until you reach a situation where all firms make zero profit. And here's the key lesson of competitive, in a perfectly competitive long-run equilibrium, all firms make zero profit. Fundamental lesson about perfect competition. Okay, now obviously there's no place that works like this in the world. Okay, it's always this extreme. But nonetheless, to understand this extreme, in a perfectly competitive long-run equilibrium, all firms make zero profit. Why? Because if there's any profit to be made, a new firm will enter and take it away. And if there's any unprofitable industry, a firm will exit until the profits go back to zero. So profits will always be zero in the long-run equilibrium. This is the market for PCs. The supply curve is pretty steep because there weren't many firms making PCs. Okay? So the market price was P1. Okay? Now, so on the right you have the market. We should label this actually. On the right you have the market. On the left you have Dell. Okay? On the right you have the market. In the market, in initial equilibrium, there's a price of P1 with big Q1 being sold. So Q1 PCs are being sold at a high price of P1. It's a new novel technology. People want it, but not many firms are doing it. What happens with Dell? Now let's go to the left-hand side diagram. Well, Dell is producing where that price equals their marginal cost. That price equals their marginal cost at little Q1. So Dell's producing little Q1. Okay? But its average costs at that point are all the way down. It's not really labeled, but you could see it's where that vertical line for Q1 intersects average total costs. That's where their costs are. So in each unit, they're making the height between marginal cost and average total cost at that Q1. They're making that vertical bar. So they make that entire rectangle of profit. So Dell makes a big profit because not many firms are in this business, and yet demand for PCs are high. And that's where things are circa 1990. And they came in and they said, look, we can do this. Okay, we can produce, this is a profitable business. We can make PCs. It's not that expensive. It's largely a variable cost business. You just got to build your plant first. So they built their plant, and then they come in. What happens when a new firm comes in? This market supply curve flattens. Because now at any price, you're producing more. So the market supply curve flattens to the point SR2. Okay? In fact, you get, maybe it's just gateway, maybe you get a bunch of entrants until you get the market supply curve SR2. Well, SR2 intersects the quantity, intersects demand at a new higher market quantity, big Q2. At a new higher market quantity, big Q2. Well, at that higher market quantity going to the left, there is now no longer profits to be made. Because at that market quantity, Dell is going to produce little Q2. Little Q2 is exactly at the minimum of the average total cost curve. So little, or it's where the marginal cost, it's where the marginal cost curve intersects the average total cost curve. The minimum of that average total cost curve. So Dell no longer makes profits. So the entry of Gateway and other firms into the PC business, okay, has removed the profit from the PC business. Now note what's interesting here. Market quantity has gone up. Big Q2 is bigger than big Q1. But Dell's quantity has gone down. little q2 is smaller than little q1. That's because more firms are in the market producing. So as more firms come in, total market quantity goes up, but any given firm is going to produce less. And that will continue until profits go to zero. Okay? That is how firm entry wipes out profits. So in the long run, firms make zero profit because, first of all, entry drives price down to average cost. Entry drives price down to average cost. And when price equals average cost, profits are zero. Okay? Profits zero when price equals average cost because profits are PQ minus C. So if you divide by Q, profits are P minus average costs. So if price equals average cost, profits are zero. So entry drives profits to zero. It drives price equal to average cost, which also is the point, of course, since price equals marginal cost, it's the point where marginal cost equals average cost. Okay?